Thou seot and take heat, and your revelation. Commander Elena Reyes stood on the observation deck of the International Space Station, her dark eyes fixed on the endless void beyond Earth. 20 years of space service had taught her to appreciate the silence of space. But today something felt different. A nagging feeling that had started 3 days ago, when the unusual signal first appeared. "Commander, you need to see this." Lieutenant Chen's voice cracked over the comm, an unusual tension in his normally calm demeanor. Elena pushed away from the viewport and made her way through the station's cylindrical corridors to the communications hub. Chen looked up as she entered, his face pale in the blue glow of his monitor. "The signal is changing," he said, pointing to oscillating patterns on his screen. "It's becoming more structured, more intentional." Elena leaned closer. She wasn't a communications specialist, but even she could see the difference. What had started as random bursts of radiation had evolved into regular pulses, a clear pattern emerging from the noise. "Have we determined the source?" she asked. Chen shook his head. "That's the strange part. It seems to be coming from multiple points simultaneously, all converging on our solar system." Before Elena could respond, emergency alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed as the station's automated voice announced, "Proximity alert. Unknown objects detected." They rushed to the nearest viewport, and Elena's breath caught in her throat. In the distance, pinpricks of light had appeared where none should exist, growing larger by the second. Not meteors or debris. These moved with purpose. "Mission Control is going crazy," said Chen, checking his tablet. "These objects just appeared on radar. They're moving at impossible speeds." Within hours, the objects resolved into what could only be described as ships, massive constructions of unknown metal that reflected starlight in colors that shouldn't exist. They positioned themselves in a precise formation around Earth's orbit, distant enough to avoid immediate panic, but close enough to make their presence unmistakable. Every communication channel on Earth exploded with activity. Governments issued contradicting statements. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. Social media platforms crashed under the weight of speculation and fear. And then, silence. A global communications blackout struck Earth without warning. Only the ISS, positioned as it was, maintained some functionality. "We're receiving a transmission," Chen announced, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's coming from the largest vessel." The message played through the station speakers, a voice that sounded almost human but with subtle distortions that sent shivers down Elena's spine. "People of Earth, we are the Vrol. Your world has been selected for acquisition. Your species possesses genetic qualities of interest to our collective. Resistance is inadvisable but anticipated. You have 6 Earth rotations to prepare your representatives for inspection." The message repeated 3 times before cutting off, leaving the station in stunned silence. "Get me a secure line to command," Elena ordered, her mind racing through the implications, "and prepare the emergency protocols, if these things are hostile." She didn't need to finish the thought. 6 days later, Elena found herself representing the International Space Agency in an unprecedented global coalition. Leaders from nations that had been enemies for generations now sat side by side in the emergency United Nations session. "They've been scanning us continuously," reported Dr. Kwame Osai, Earth's leading xenobiologist, who had been hastily appointed to analyze the Vrol's technology. "Their energy signatures suggest technology centuries beyond our own." General Wei Lin of the Chinese Space Force nodded grimly. "Our most advanced weapons would be like throwing stones at a battleship. If they want our planet, there's little we can do to stop them." Elena studied the holographic projections of the alien vessels. But why announce their presence? Why give us warning at all? The answer came sooner than expected. On the 6th day, smaller craft descended from the motherships, landing at predetermined sites across the globe. From each emerged tall, humanoid figures with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed with inner light. Elena watched the live feed from New York, where one of the craft had landed in the middle of Central Park. The Vrol representative stood nearly 8 feet tall, addressing the gathered human delegation with mechanical precision. "Your species carries the dormant genetic markers of the elder race," the alien announced through some form of translator. "This makes you valuable livestock. We will harvest a portion of your population for study and integration. The remainder may continue existence under Vrol supervision." The human delegates erupted in protest, but the Vrol seemed unmoved. "Your cooperation is preferred but not required. Our harvest begins tomorrow." From orbit, Elena watched in horror as smaller Vrol ships began systematic patterns over major cities. Reports flooded in of people being taken, selected seemingly at random, and transported to the waiting motherships. Earth's military forces launched desperate attacks against the invaders, but their weapons proved ineffective against Vrol shields. Nuclear options were considered but abandoned when the Vrol demonstrated their ability to neutralize atomic reactions before detonation. Elena found herself coordinating resistance from the space station, which had somehow remained untargeted by the Vrol. Perhaps they considered it too insignificant, or perhaps they had other plans for the humans who lived among the stars. "They're targeting specific genetic profiles," Dr. Osai reported after analyzing abduction patterns. "People with certain rare genetic markers are being taken first. There's something in our DNA they want." On the 8th day of the invasion, with Earth's governments in disarray and resistance crumbling, Elena noticed a new anomaly. Energy fluctuations at the edge of the solar system, similar to those that had preceded the Vrol's arrival. "More ships," Chen confirmed, his eyes wide with fear. "Much bigger than the Vrol fleet." Elena's heart sank. If the Vrol were merely an advance force for something larger, Earth's situation had just become even more desperate. The new arrivals accelerated toward Earth at speeds that defied physics as humans understood it. The Vrol ships broke their harvesting patterns, reorienting toward the newcomers in what appeared to be defensive formations. "They're afraid," Elena realized aloud. "The Vrol are afraid of whatever's coming." The revelation sent a spark of hope through the station crew. As they watched, the new fleet engaged the Vrol ships with weapons that distorted space itself. Vrol vessels imploded or vanished entirely where the energy beams touched them. Then, a transmission reached the station, bypassing all encryption and security protocols. Unlike the mechanical precision of the Vrol, this voice resonated with a warmth that felt oddly familiar to Elena. "Children of Earth, stand firm. The harvesters will trouble you no more. We have returned." The largest of the new vessels, a structure so vast it appeared like a moving moon, positioned itself between Earth and the remaining Vrol ships. From its surface, smaller craft emerged, thousands of them, swarming the Vrol fleet with coordinated precision. "Who are they?" someone whispered on the command deck. Elena felt a strange resonance within herself, as though some dormant part of her DNA recognized the newcomers. "I think," she said slowly, "they might be the elder race the Vrol mentioned." As if in answer to her thought, the transmission resumed. "We are the guardians, protectors of the seeded worlds. Earth was planted with our essence millennia ago, and now the harvest of stars has come." The battle above Earth lasted less than an hour. When it ended, not a single Vrol ship remained. The Guardian vessels moved into a protective formation around the planet, and a single craft detached itself from the fleet, heading directly toward the International Space Station. Elena knew, without being told, that they were coming for her. The Elder Race returns. The Guardian vessel docked with the International Space Station with impossible precision, creating no vibration or disturbance. Elena stood at the airlock, flanked by security personnel who gripped their weapons with white knuckles, weapons they all knew would be useless if the newcomers proved hostile. The airlock cycled, and Elena held her breath as the inner door slid open. The figure that emerged was humanoid, but clearly not human. Standing 7 feet tall with skin that seemed to shimmer between copper and gold, the visitor had eyes unlike anything Elena had ever seen, irises that contained what looked like miniature galaxies swirling within them. Commander Elena Reyes, the visitor said, its voice resonating in a way that seemed to bypass her ears and speak directly to her mind. I am Sentinel Theron of the Guardian Fleet. The awakening has begun within you. Elena felt a strange tingling sensation spreading through her body, a warmth that started in her chest and radiated outward. What are you? She managed to ask. We are what humanity will become, Theron replied. What you were always meant to become. In the following hours, Theron revealed the truth that had been hidden from humanity for millennia. The Guardians were not aliens but advanced humans, evolved over hundreds of thousands of years of cosmic development. Long ago, they had seeded compatible worlds throughout the galaxy with human genetic material, creating outposts of humanity across the stars. Earth was one of our most promising seeding grounds, Theron explained as they sat in the station's conference room, Earth's blue sphere visible through the viewport. Your people carry dormant genetic potential that the Vrol sought to harvest for themselves. The genetic markers Dr. Osi identified, Elena realized. Theron nodded. The Vrol are genetic parasites. They cannot evolve naturally, so they seek out species with specific potentials and absorb them into their collective. Your kind has something they desperately want. What do we have that's so special? Elena asked. The ability to transcend, Theron replied simply. Human consciousness can evolve beyond physical limitations in ways that most species cannot comprehend. The Vrol sensed this potential awakening on Earth and came to harvest it before you could become a threat to them. Global communications gradually restored as Guardian technology neutralized the Vrol suppression fields. The world's leaders gathered virtually to hear the Guardians' explanation and offer of protection. Not everyone welcomed the Guardians with open arms. Many saw them as simply another invading force with prettier words and gentler methods. Military leaders questioned their motives, and religious authorities struggled with the implications for their various faiths. We do not seek to rule you, Theron assured them, only to protect until you can protect yourselves. Elena found herself in the unique position of liaison between humanity and the Guardians. Something about her genetic makeup made her particularly receptive to their teachings. The dormant potential within her was closer to awakening than in most humans. Under Theron's guidance, Elena began to access abilities she never knew she possessed. She could sense the emotions of others, communicate without speaking, and even perceive patterns of energy that had always been invisible to human perception. You are a bridge, Elena, Theron told her during one of their training sessions. Neither fully your current humanity, nor what humanity will become, but a crucial link between the two states of being. 3 months after the Guardians' arrival, long-range sensors detected a new threat. The Vrol had not been defeated entirely. They had retreated to gather reinforcements. Now, a fleet 10 times larger than the first approached Earth with clear intent. They will not stop until they have what they want, Theron said grimly. The Vrol Collective has devoted millennia to harvesting potential from across the galaxy. They will not abandon such a rich source as Earth. The Guardians prepared for battle, but Theron warned that even their advanced technology might not be enough against such overwhelming numbers. We need to accelerate the awakening, he told Elena. Humanity must help defend itself. Across the globe, the Guardians identified thousands of humans with genetic markers similar to Elena's, people whose potential could be awakened quickly. With their consent, these individuals underwent a process that activated their dormant abilities. Elena led the first cohort of these awakened humans, learning to harness energies that defied conventional physics. They trained aboard Guardian vessels, their minds expanding to comprehend concepts that would have seemed like magic months earlier. We cannot match the Vrol in numbers or raw power, Theron explained as the enemy fleet approached. But awakened humans possess something the Vrol cannot counter: creativity in consciousness. Where they are collective, you are individual. Where they are rigid, you are adaptive. When the Vrol fleet arrived, the battle that ensued was unlike anything in human history. Guardian ships formed the front line, their advanced weapons creating distortions in space that swallowed Vrol vessels whole. Behind them, ships piloted by awakened humans moved with unpredictable patterns that confused Vrol targeting systems. Alina commanded a squadron of these human ships, her enhanced consciousness allowing her to coordinate their movements with perfect synchronization. She could feel the Vrol consciousness pressing against her mind, a cold, alien intelligence trying to predict her actions. But human unpredictability proved their greatest asset. Where the Vrol expected logical responses, the humans improvised. Where the Vrol applied overwhelming force, the humans found unexpected weaknesses. The battle raged for days, with losses on both sides. Several Guardian ships were destroyed, and many newly awakened humans lost their lives learning to control their abilities under fire. The turning point came when Alina, pushing her awareness to its limits, perceived something the Guardians had missed. A pattern in the Vrol fleet movements that revealed the location of their command ship. There, she transmitted to Theron, sharing her perception directly mind to mind. They're coordinating from that vessel. The Guardians concentrated their firepower on the location Alina identified, and a massive explosion rippled through the Vrol fleet as their command ship was destroyed. Without central coordination, the Vrol ships fell into disarray, their collective consciousness fragmented. In the aftermath, as the remaining Vrol ships retreated beyond the solar system, Alina stood on the observation deck of the Guardian flagship, watching Earth rotate peacefully below. "What happens now?" she asked Theron, who stood beside her. "Now, humanity takes its place among the stars," he replied. "The awakening has begun and cannot be stopped. Within a few generations, your people will develop abilities beyond what even I can imagine. And the Vrol. They will return eventually," Theron acknowledged. "But by then, humanity will be ready to face them as equals." The Guardians established outposts throughout the solar system, sharing technology and knowledge at a pace humanity could absorb. They helped establish the first human colonies beyond Earth, on Mars, the moons of Jupiter, and eventually the outer reaches of the solar system. Alina led the first generation of awakened humans, teaching others to access their dormant potential. Some developed the ability to manipulate energy, others to heal with a thought, and still others to perceive realities beyond conventional dimensions. 5 years after the Vrol invasion, as humanity's first faster-than-light vessel prepared for its maiden voyage, Alina stood with Theron at the launch facility on Earth's moon. "We are returning to the Guardian homeworld," Theron told her. "Our role here is complete for now. Will we see you again?" Alina asked, surprised by the depth of emotion she felt at the prospect of their departure. Theron's galaxy eyes seemed to look beyond her physical form, seeing the awakened potential that now flowed through her being. "You will not need to see us, Alina Reyes. In time, you will become us. The elder race does not guide from outside, but from within." As the Guardian fleet departed, leaving humanity to forge its own path among the stars, Alina felt the truth of Theron's words resonating within her. The elder race had not merely returned to Earth, they had awakened within humanity itself, fulfilling a cosmic cycle that had begun millennia ago. Humanity's children would inherit not just the Earth, but the stars themselves. And one day, they too would become guardians of newly seeded worlds, continuing the eternal cycle of the elder race. The end.